Welcome to IndieWatch. We here are determining whether or not games are worth your time, but more importantly, whether or not they're worth my time. And this is the stylish cyberpunk world of Anno Mutationem. If you like our content, please enable notifications, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and join our Discord server in the description below. This is Anno Mutationem. This is a stylish cyberpunk action-adventure game developed by Thinking Stars and published by Lightning Games. You could say it's part open world, part Metroidvania, and part cyberpunk bartending action. What's she doing here? In this single-player story-heavy game, you take the role of Anne Flores, a woman in search of her brother. As you progress and find more clues, you discover more secrets about this world, and you discover that not all things are as they seem. Conspiracies galore. The plot is interesting, especially later on when you learn about certain revelations that I'm not going to talk about. Of course, throughout the game, you'll meet a couple of NPCs, some of which have personal history with your character. Of course, none of whom are nearly as prevalent in the story as your BFF Ayane Mitsuno. The comedic relief to your straight man, or straight woman in this case. Are they friends? Are they more than friends? Who knows? Overall, I think the story is pretty good. I do think some story elements could be fleshed out better, but I'm guessing they're saving those for a sequel. So let's talk gameplay. Gameplay can be broken up into two segments. The first of which has you exploring a couple of hub worlds, or hub areas rather, most of which are urban cities that you can explore and do side quests in, visit shops, interact with locals, etc, etc. It's an interesting design choice to have the hub areas occupy a full 3D space. That said, I do think that exploring these hub areas can be a little disorienting, and at times the camera can be a little janky due to the fact that you're basically locked in one perspective. But I think it's a very neat idea, and honestly, I think I'd like to see more games do this. I've already beaten this game, and I can tell you that there's quite a bit in this world to explore. It's no Ubisoft open world, but I do think this game struck a nice balance of collectibles and things to chase after. The next half I want to talk about is combat and exploration in various dungeon-like areas. You know, the combat is exhilarating. You have a couple of different weapon types to make use of, and you can switch between all of them on the fly. You can also unlock a bevy of different techniques as well as character upgrades. You can also purchase and craft new weapons, and also craft usable items on the fly during gameplay without having to go into a menu. That said, the game is surprisingly in-depth with its combat. With the right know-how and how to exploit your opponent's weaknesses, you can become a combo master. That said, there is quite a bit of challenge if you're not accustomed to action games like this. Knowing when to block, dodge, or parry attacks is paramount here because, honestly, bosses do a lot of damage. It's absolutely obscene, and if you're not willing to learn how to dodge or block, then you're going to be using a lot of healing items. That said, once you learn how to play the game for real and you learn the game's mechanics, you feel like a total badass. But I mean, that kind of goes without saying. The combat itself is kind of reminiscent of, say, something like Muramasa the Demon Blade, and that's high praise. All in all, should you play this game? Absolutely, 100%. It's a colorful cyberpunk world with an interesting hook to it. It's got a colorful cast of characters, many of whom you'll want to talk with, things to find in this world, things to unlock, outfits to unlock too. That said, there are some things I found kind of awkward, namely controlling the entire game with an analog stick and not using the D-pad, especially for a game that has most of the meat of the gameplay in a 2D perspective. And while the voice acting in all three languages is great, the subtitles definitely don't match what the characters are saying, and you know, some occasional typos. Those can be fixed though. Other than that though, the game is great, and the combat is great too. I mean, what else do you really need in a game, right?